Thorpe United have lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon.
Love it.
Open wide for some soccer!
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us for today's podcast. We are joined by the best and brightest of Grimsby has to offer, and they couldn't make it, so we came with us. Bruce travelled back, cost his 185 quid or whatever it would have cost to get down from Boreham Wood and back. Everybody settled back at home. Safe journey back, mate.
All good, yeah. Peterborough Services was full of mariners that were relatively happy, but yeah, we got back.
Petrol price at Peterborough.
I wasn't driving, mate. So I'll be honest, I paid no attention. I just handed over what was required and my share, and yeah, that was it really. So I can't tell you. We certainly didn't fill up there. We filled up before we left. It's cheaper up here, isn't it?
I don't know. I guess so. Tom, how's everything your end? I know we are waiting with a bated breath for news for yourself, but how is everything going otherwise?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Awesome. Kimi Räikkönen, another pod. Oh no, who's that really shitty Crawley manager? John Yem. Yeah. Mike,
Harsh.
how are you? Harsh. On him or you? Mike, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Cheers, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. Did you go yesterday? I didn't see you.
No, I was meant to be going, and then something happened at home, so last minute I couldn't get there. So gutted. But
what a part timer! Look,
tell me
anyway,
about it, mate.
look, yeah, I know. Well, I gotta say, I'm a bit discombobulated today. So we put this up late. So if you've got any questions, theories, thoughts, anything you want to put in, please feel free to. Bruce and I were at this sun-scorched Boreham Wood Stadium, which I assume is like a Cub Scout tent or something of a football ground. I don't know. I assume they do like little wigwam things there. It was it had the air of professionalism wrapped around an air of three-step terraces. I don't know I've never been before, Bruce, but it obviously Arsenal have lavished them with a nice pitch and about 50,000 water sprinklers. But it didn't feel like a Boreham Wood Stadium, really. It felt like Arsenal Women's Stadium.
It was no, it looked very shiny, didn't it? It wasn't very big, but it was shiny. And yeah, it reminded me a little bit of, I don't know if did you go to Hyde when they were in the conference the first time round, and Man City used their ground, and it was a little bit like a posher version of that, where the pitch looked immaculate. But yeah, I thought it was a fairly tidy little ground, really. But yeah, it was very deceptive, though. Has she given birth?
Yeah, apparently.
For anybody that's listening, Tom's just disappeared. But yeah, I thought it was a tidy little ground, but I thought it was deceptively cold. The sun, once the sun went down, it was bloody freezing, and there were some fans there were hats and scarves on some, and then other people were in shorts and t-shirts, weren't there?
Yeah, it reminds me, we played Forest once in 2001. We lost 3-1. And it was like today. It was gorgeous, and I ended up going down in like shorts and a t-shirt. And when I got back to Market Raisin, we were 2 feet in snow. I was so stupid. I was only young, and I didn't really understand how trains worked. So I didn't know that I could get like connecting services to get to wherever I needed to go. So I was panicking, going, shit, I've got to get back to Grimsby. Well, this train goes to Market Raisin, at least I can get there. And my old man had to drive across the walls, across Case the Top in the snow to get me. I don't think he's forgiven me yet. But yeah, it was a deceptively weird day. But do you know what? Let's talk about it. I'm surprised a little bit by some of the negativity from people. If anything stops us from getting in the playoffs this season, it's our ability to not draw games, if anything, looking at the league table. And I thought yesterday is a consummate performance against a fellow playoff rival, where if John McAtee had his shooting boots on, we would have walked away with all 3 points as he was put through 1-on-1 twice. I don't know what your opinion of it was, Bruce. I think, yeah.
I thought the first half was absolute shit.
We don't even need to talk about it.
The first half, both teams were just absolutely. It looked like it got 0-0 written all over it from the first sort of 2 or 3 minutes, hadn't it? And then obviously the second half played out, and it shouldn't have been 0-0, but it was. Yeah, I just thought the first half was absolutely appalling. But then second half, I thought Town came out. I thought they tried to win the game. McAtee missed a couple of chances, like you say. He just didn't connect with either of them, did he? I mean, they were both on target, I believe. No, one went wide, didn't it? But one was on target, and the other one sort of went wide. But neither of them had a lot of power behind them. The best effort was Maguire-Drew, who I thought showed that little bit of quality, got a bit of space in the box when he came on, and you know, he was unlucky not to score. By all accounts, I couldn't see very well from where I was. You were a little bit further along, but it was a worldie save by the keeper, apparently.
Yeah, it was a good save considering he was only about 5'4". He was a ridiculously short keeper for what we're used to nowadays.
If I'd have been a Boreham Wood fan, though, I would have been disappointed in that as a home performance. I didn't think they made any real effort to. I thought Cod Almighty's little bit that was they nearly won it by accident at the end was absolutely brilliant, because they just looked like they had no intention of trying to really score, and they were time wasting at home in the first half. And yeah, I'd have been fed up with that. I wouldn't have liked that at all. But
isn't that like the archetypal lower, like a Braintree or a Gateshead or whatever other team we've had to fucking play in these leagues, where, you know, Eastleigh as well, where these teams that don't have much about them, but they're well organised, they get themselves back behind it, they look dangerous at set pieces. That number 6, who to me looked like a kebab shop owner, was an absolute rock at the back. He was into absolutely everything, wasn't he? But it was it's just one of these where you'd come away, and I would imagine a lot of teams have lost 1-0 to them rather than, you know, 4-5-0.
Yeah, I think they've got the best defensive record in the league, and you can see why, because half the time they've got 9 men behind the ball. I just thought they might have done well and they've got results, but I wouldn't want to watch that all season if that's as expansive as they get, because I thought for a home team they really, and you say about that, but this is a team that's in the playoffs with games in hand above us. You know, I appreciate that they're a smaller club than us, but we're not exactly Juventus, are we?
I guess in comparison, we are, aren't we?
Yeah, but we're not though, are we? Because they're above us. And
I mean, in terms of resources, I guess is probably what.
Possibly, but their performances on the pitch would suggest, you know, the league table would suggest that at the moment they're a better team than us, aren't they? And they have been over the course of the season.
I mean, in terms of form, though, haven't they dropped right off recently? I see they're sort of mid-table in the form chart, so maybe it's a case of just wanting to try and get a point against a rival to try and stop that slide a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean,
I was quite surprised about the reports of how negative they were, to be honest.
Well, they have played so the last run of games has been Everton, Wrexham, Chesterfield. So they were like 2 losses. They'll be disappointed to lose to Everton, I guess. Drew with Chesterfield. And then Barnet, they lost 1-0 at Barnet, which I guess they count as a sort of a derby. And then they've drawn with us. Their last win was on the 26th of Feb against Eastleigh. So they've had a particularly difficult running of late. Maybe we've caught them at a good time, perhaps. But I don't see many. Yeah, there's lots of 1-0s. They beat Kings Lynn 3-1. But there's very few games where they've won by more than 1 goal. Weymouth and Eastleigh are the 2 that stand out after that.
Yeah, neither of them are very high up the table, are they?
No, so you can see where they keep it tight, see what goes, and it's doing pretty well. But I mean, Luke Gerrard, who's their manager, would be one that I would have been touting for Town if should Hurst have not found his mojo again. And after watching that, as you say, Bruce, I wouldn't want him. I don't know about you.
Just while you're talking about the results and stuff, I'm just looking at the table, and I know it makes sense anyway. But the table at the moment is a pretty the form table. Sorry, is a pretty good reflection of the league. The table that I've got up, the top 5, Solihull and above, are unbeaten in the last 5, all of them. And then the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bottom 5 or 6 have got 1 win between them in the last 6 games. So it is, and then the middle is a bit of a mixture, and we're at the higher end of that with one red cross. So the table really has taken shape properly now, and I think the form team at the minute seem to be Halifax, don't they? Absolutely flying, along with Stockport, of course.
Yeah, Stockport they're pretty incredible, aren't they? They haven't lost since they played the game before they played us in the trophy.
They've won 18 out of the last 19, drawing the other.
Yeah, that was against Chesterfield, I think. So it's a pretty impressive run. We do have to face them, so it'll come unstuck then. But I guess we should really address the sort of negativity, because I thought we played all right. I thought nobody. It was like playing two town teams in the first half. No one wanted to shoot. No one wanted to do anything, and everyone was just happy for the ball to bobble about. The second half, I thought we took it to them. I thought Sousa looked a lot better than I'd seen him in the most recent games. Him and Afeti do need to work on their sort of work together, because it's just lacking, shall we say. Amos, I thought, looked pretty good. Clifton looked industrious. It's nice to see Taylor back, and you could see an improvement of sort of the hold-up play that we had up there. Yeah, I thought it was all right. A special note to Boreham Wood's sort of obligatory shithousery sort of play. They almost played. I don't know about you, Bruce, but Jamal Fifield came over after about 56 minutes, and he was taking his time for a throw, wasn't he? He was like, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere."
He wasn't in a rush, was he? But no, I like I said at the start, I thought they were wasting time in the first half, let alone the second. But just going back, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, going back to what you were saying about players, I think Smith looks really solid.
Yeah.
I think Pearson was a little bit unlucky to be shifted out, and I'd be interested to know whether that was intended as letting him have a rest at Yeovil, and then Smith came in and just excelled, or whether he feels that that moving forward that Smith is his best partner for Waterfall. Perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Crocom's kicking was pretty good as well. He was relatively steady. He didn't have much to do, but that last chance at the end, he had to deal with it. Who else have we missed? Anybody?
I think Hurst. Sorry to interrupt. I think Hurst. I don't know I know you were on Radio Stardom, but
I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, well, apparently Henry's not happy.
I can imagine.
But yeah, he was going to do a report even with not being at the game. But you overshadowed him.
Well, they were trying to get through to me to get his details, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't there today. Oh well, do you know anyone that could help? But yeah, I thought Hurst was right though. There was a few times you said about Amos and Afete and Sousa, and there were quite a few times where the fact that final ball into the box especially in the second half, because we were quite low down, weren't we? It wasn't easy to see what was going on in the first half at the far end.
No.
But the delivery into the box wasn't brilliant, 70% of the time, and so that is something that we can work on. But yeah, I thought they were good, and like you, I thought having Taylor back, unlucky as the other lads were, I think Taylor and McAtee is his preferred front two.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's worth happening, and I think that'll be what we go with. Hopefully, if everything comes our way.
I think what he's looking to. Sorry, I did it again, didn't I? But yeah. I think what he's looking to do is with Taylor, he's thinking that he can bring more people into play. Rather than just being Taylor and McAtee. I think with Taylor's hold-up play, he's a different kind of player, perhaps, to the other two, and he's maybe bringing in the wingers or the fullbacks into play as well with his layoffs, and we might get more bodies up the pitch in support of the ones that are up there. And I'll shut up now for a minute.
Was it not a bit harsh on Manny? I'm just doing it shits and giggles now, mate. Was it not a bit harsh on Manny to drop him after 2-2?
I was going to shut up then.
I don't think so. He's okay and he's doing all right, but Taylor works a lot better in tighter spaces. And when you've got a team like that where they do put a lot of men behind the balls, you're not going to get many opportunities to. Well, I say that McAtee had two, I guess, but to sort of get your heels out and run with the ball, which I think is where Manny's initial strengths come from. Same with Abraham as well, I guess. But I can see why Taylor's just a bit more of a trusted professional, and given what's happened this week, and we'll come on to it briefly in a bit with McAtee, I think a reassuring older head up front is probably well worth considering, though I imagine it maybe not came into Hurst's head. He just Taylor's his guy. I was going to mention that it was very well noted, the keepers and Boreham Shithousery, they took a note out of Southampton's book after about an hour. The goalkeeper went down for a supposed groin strain that was, and then they all ran over, got their little gels, and it was just after we'd had a little bit of a flurry. And after that, they sort of a 10-minute spell of better possession, though it didn't come to anything. I don't know if you noticed that as well, Bruce. He's not going to talk now.
He did seem to suddenly get better, didn't he? He looked like he was going to have to go off, and then 3 or 4 minutes later, he was up and come on, ref, let's get on with it. That was the one where we had the ball out wide, wasn't it? We were just about to deliver it into the box, and the keeper just collapsed in a pile, and they were complaining that they should have had the ball back.
No, that was a different one. So
was it?
It was after he shanked it, that one. Then the second one, which I'm really annoyed about, and we talk about shit refereeing, and Lloyd brought it up, and Thomas stuck his oar in on it as well, I think. In terms of when the ball, we had the ball at the edge of the box, and then one of their defenders went down clutching his head for a head injury. And then we had a drop ball, and the ref seemed to take a drop ball about 10-15 yards back from where it was, basically at the edge of the box where we were going to cross it in. And I'm sorry, I don't like that idea, because first and foremost, Boreham would seem to do it a couple of times yesterday where they went down and clutched their head, and it sort of minimises what could be a potential serious risk for a player, and it really does highlight the ability to abuse that rule should they need to. I think if they do that, then that player has to go off for 5 minutes and go through a standard concussion test. See how often they do it then.
Sounds like a plan. No, I agree. I agree with it. That one. We were laughing because Sousa had the ball in the sun, which was coming across the pitch, and then by the time it was taken, he was halfway in the main stand's shade. Yeah,
absolutely. He was an odd ref yesterday. He wasn't the worst we've had, but it's a low bar in the National League. But I'm just surprised with the negativity. I get but they're the sort of games you should be happy with, where you come away and go, oh, we could have pinched that. I didn't think there was many issues. The only one that I'd probably criticise Paul Hurst for was the usual stuff. I think he could have brought Maguire-Drew on earlier, but I can understand as well why he didn't. Tom?
I think the negativity just generally comes back to the same old thing for me, which is there's a large section of our support which have not been able to hit the reset button and accept that we're no longer a second-tier team, and they still think that that's where we are and that this level is beneath us, and that and basically the answer to that is it's not. We're here because we've been crap for 20 years. And where we are now, actually, in context is really important. And that result, Boreham were undefeated at home this season. It was a match between two playoff teams. I think it's Lee Chisnell saying there, if we win on Tuesday night, that's probably a really good point in the context of the playoff race, which is where we are. And lots of people criticising us, saying we need to go out and try and chase the game and win the game. There'd be exactly the same people that if we went out and played 4-3-3, that if we ended up losing the game 2-0 yesterday, there'd be the first people on Hurst's back saying, what were we doing chasing the game 4-3-3 after 45 minutes or whenever they want us to to change it. I accept I've been one of his critics for not changing games earlier and bringing subs on earlier. I personally think 10, 15 minutes isn't enough time for a substitute to change the game. But we've been over it enough times now. Hurst, for whatever reason, doesn't like to mix it up after 60 minutes. He likes to give the players that started the game a chance to try and change it. And further to that as well, in the context of this league season and where we are, a team that's just come down from League Two, having pretty much hit rock bottom, and we're about where we should be. Chesterfield, Wrexham, Stockport have all spent massive money that we haven't got on quality players. We don't have any marquee players in this division. Our one arguable marquee player is John McAtee, and we bought him at the cost of whatever you get for a tribunal transfer fee, which probably isn't that much. Wrexham, Chesterfield has spent six-figure players on sums. We're not the big dog in the league, and people need to realise that.
Yeah, Bruce, go ahead.
I disagree slightly. I think that the most people that complain after any result where we don't win is the people that still, I thought Tom was going to say it at first, is the people that haven't forgiven what Hurst did at Wembley, and they've still got the first, and have still got the thing with Hurst in there, and there are people that are just waiting for any result that's not a win to come out and comment. I think the first time we came down, I think a lot of us were guilty of thinking we were beneath the level, and it's been quite interesting reading some of the comments on Scunny's thread. Oh, we'll get rid of all the players and we'll be all right next year. I think they're in for the shock of their lives, because we certainly had it the first time we came down, didn't we? And I like I say, there may be some out there, but I think a lot of the people that complain about any result, you'll always see the manager's name in that complaining tweet. And I think that generally it's a dislike of the manager, and not an expectation that we've got a God-given right to do anything. That's just my opinion.
I mean, not wanting to sit on the fence, I take a sort of both of those views. I think there's two reasons for it. I think firstly is the dislike for Hurst, and you can see the same old people waiting for something to go wrong. You saw it when we was in some bad form, and you do see people that just think we have a God-given right to beat any team we're up against. I don't pretend to understand, the reason for it, but it doesn't surprise me anymore. It's not unusual. You go online or you read reviews of games, and there's people that are very negative about getting a draw away at a playoff rival. I don't understand it, but I sort of expect it now. And without wanting to be called again a happy clapper or whatever, you look at the season going in, we're probably exactly where all of us thought we would be. We're in and around the playoffs. Fairly inconsistent at times, but at the minute we're on some cracking form. Won 5, drawn 2, lost 1. That's pretty decent form. And I think when you win the first 10 games of the season, people think you're brilliant. When you lose a couple of games, people think you're terrible, and neither are ever true. It's somewhere in the middle, and I think sometimes people don't realise that that's the case.
Wow, I've just been looking for suit trousers while you're all talking, and the comments have come in. Tom, what were you going to say? Look, I'm going to throw some comments up, and then we can put them up as we'll come back to them as well. I think John Lewis has been quite active. Tom.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that comes in on that, which is, people complaining about the referee. I've said this before. Like, people tend to also complain about the referee when the result don't go your way. I know that from my experience of refereeing. The times when you get, when you referee, the home team and the away team have to give you a mark out of 10 or whatever it is now, probably still the same. And more often than not, the team that wins gives you a good score, and the team that loses gives you a bad score. There's very few people that are able to actually come somewhere in the middle of that. And comments about the referee, yesterday don't surprise me, because we didn't win a game that a lot of people no doubt expected us to win. And by the sounds of things, if McAtee puts one of those strikes away, we win the game 1-0, and everybody comes away happy as Larry. Oh, that's a brilliant 3 points at a really tough place to go. And the referee doesn't even get a mention.
I don't. Because I've just brought it up now, and that I thought the referee was pretty poor in terms of some of his decisions, and we pointed a couple out. I wasn't expecting us to win. I
know you weren't. I'm not like, but I just think that is the way it goes. Like, people are more likely to complain about the referee when the result doesn't go your way. You look at any football result and look at the comments, and that just happens. And ultimately, it don't come down to the referee. Both teams have the same referee. Both teams have the same ball. Both teams have the same pitch. It comes down to your performance and what you do in that moment. And most of the time, when people blame the referee, they're blaming the referee because they don't want to look at their own failings. And the fact of the matter is, yesterday we didn't do enough to score a goal. And Boreham Wood didn't do enough to score a goal. So the easy scapegoat is the referee, or if the pitch had been crap, you could have blamed the pitch or whatever. It always, in football, it always seems to come down to somebody else's fault rather than your own.
Well. I mean, like, okay, so let's talk about some fun stuff. Bruce, have I missed anything from yesterday?
No, just going back to your thing about the negativity, though. I think Tom's right as well. You know, like we say, you don't talk about the referee very often when you've won a game. But yeah, I think we all use social media. Don't you just find as well that I think you're saying there's negativity, but I have accounts on social media that I respect the opinion of, and I have accounts on social media that I think, oh, there they go again. And probably people think the same of me or you or, you know, Mike or whoever. But
hi, guys.
Yeah. You don't rant, do you?
Enablers.
You don't want to rant or put anything outrageous. But no,
I was talking more about our fans. Hello.
Yeah. But no, and I think I sort of, you know, you see it and you'll see that and there's probably a dozen or 15 accounts that you see pop up when things haven't gone right or we haven't got a win, and you know, I've just sort of grown to the amount of times that I find myself starting to write a reply and then just thinking it's not worth it. And I'm not a Hurst fan, and I'm not a Hurst hater. You know, we criticised when it wasn't good enough, but I didn't think yesterday was one of those days.
Just one quick point. I do see a lot of people saying, "Oh, we'd rather lose a game having a go and play free attacking football and have a go and lose games." Well, from the games I've seen in the National League, whilst we've been down here on both visits, I haven't seen many teams go up playing that. You know, sometimes in this league, I think you have to be a bit more pragmatic. But on the other hand, there is probably a valid argument that we are a lot less prolific and clinical as we probably should be. And that is something that does need to be addressed next season. We can't be here at the same time next season having this same discussion, not sorting out the problem in front of goal that we seem to have at times.
Bruce, before we move on, do you want to have a comment about the atmosphere? Because I thought, even though the numbers were relatively impressive, 700 odd away, I thought once again it was absolute dog shit, and I don't know what it is. I mean, people talk about it being a small clustered area across a longer plot in multiple stands, but we've done Welling, we've done Hayes and Yedding, we've done all these places, and then the noise has been fine, the songs have been fine, but this year, I don't know if everybody's still suffering from long COVID, but it sounds like a fucking library.
Is he just going to blame us Southern Mariners again?
I think he should.
I think there weren't enough there yesterday, Mike. But yeah, I think that it was just never there, was it, yesterday? But what were there though? A dozen steps, 8 steps? There weren't many, and I mean,
but everyone was packed in, and we've like Welling reminds me of that, where we're all like packed in on that little bank there.
Yeah, but you're packed in. If you go to Blundell Park and you want to sing, you've got an idea where you go. You go in the Osmond with your flags, don't you? Where you want your singing section. But you
going the way.
I do think it's hard. It's hard. There's all these grounds with no roofs as well. I mean, we've complained and you've complained about the atmosphere, but one of the best southern games that I've been to this season, atmosphere-wise, was Aldershot in that cowshed. You know, there's that was probably the best one, and it's got a decent roof, so it doesn't take a lot. But there wasn't a lot yesterday, and I think there's also maybe a little bit of it's the there's a lot of the hardcore going that have been going for years, and you see a lot, which is great, and you see a lot of couples. And there was a bus of lads went yesterday. There was a coach load yesterday, but you end up spread, like you said, with when the terrace is so thin, you end up spread all over the stand. So yeah, but it never got going, did it? There wasn't even it just never got going. But maybe that goes back to the Mike's talk about expansive football. You know, it was a turgid first half where there wasn't really a lot to get the fans excited, was there? And you know, there was a little bit more excitement in the second half, but it's not free flowing. And I'm not criticising the approach, but it's not free throwing. You know, we're not scoring 4 like Stockport did, coming from 2 behind. You know, when we've lost the games we've lost by the odd goal on however many occasions. So, you know, the fans have got to give the team something, but there's got, you know, to get the singing and stuff going. I think it also helps when you're roaring your team forward, doesn't it?
So what do we do with that? I mean, I'm too old to bring them, and everyone's fucking sick to death, in my opinion. So you don't want me coming with a bloody megaphone to a game, like doing some sort of Tifosi crap.
We don't want a megaphone. I'd rather it was silent.
What do we do? Can we do anything to help it? I guess I don't know. Maybe we need to get more people drunk. Or maybe they're too drunk and they're just sort of post snooze when they get in there. Tom, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to pick up on what Mike said about teams not chasing the game. I think another important factor that everybody seems to overlook is that teams that tend to win the conference and get promoted are teams that have 20-goal strikers in their team. Like, you just look in recent years, Vardy with Fleetwood, Akinde with Barnet.
Oh my God, if we're going to go all the way back to fucking Fleetwood, I'm going to kick you out of this bloody chat now. That was about 45 years ago.
This season, you've got Madden at Stockport County, who's banging the goals in. And then obviously Tishmanga, until he got injured, was looking like he was going to get 20 goals as well. And unfortunately, we don't seem to have landed like a 20-goal a season striker this year, and we don't have enough players perhaps chipping in from other areas, getting close to double figures, which is a big thing. And I think this all sort of comes into the atmosphere as well. The atmosphere yesterday was probably a bit naff because it was a 0-0 draw and there weren't that many chances. When you go, like, I went to Torquay away at the beginning of the season and we won. I think we won 3-1 in the end, didn't we? And that was a great away day. We went 1-0 down and came back from behind and won 3-1. And they're great away days. The atmosphere is great. She's like, oh, we thought we were going to be in for a hide in there, and then we've gone and won it. And then we went to that, was it Maidenhead earlier in the season? That game was a bit flat. There weren't that many chances in that game. The atmosphere was a bit flat. The atmosphere in the UK is quite organic. It's not like on the continent where people sing for 90 minutes because there's some guy not watching the match facing you telling you what to chant for 90 minutes. Atmosphere in the UK is organic because it lives and breathes with the game itself. Sometimes it takes an incident to G the crowd up, and there's like a sense of injustice that just gets everybody going. This afternoon, I don't know if you watched the Forest-Liverpool game. The Forest fans were obviously up for that because it was a really big game for them, and it made for a really good atmosphere getting into Liverpool. I think you just sometimes have to accept what it is and enjoy the good atmosphere when they come around.
I'm not accepting it. It's shit. Everyone up their fucking games. If you're going to bitch and whine about the team, can't bitch and whine about them unless you're singing your heart out with fucking 3 Jaeger bombs in you. I don't understand it. Probably not if you're driving there though. What was I going to say? All right, we're moving on now, I guess. Bournemouth's done. Useful point. On to wherever we've got next, Solihull Moors. And then I guess we have to talk about McAtee. Do we need to talk about James? Tom is shaking his head. Look,
I'm not that interested. I don't think there's a lot in it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I know, but it's going to affect stuff, isn't it? And we can't be pussies about it. We have to talk about this stuff. Look,
Yeah, but is it going to affect stuff? Why? I mean, surely if there was, Hurst is one of the most disciplined managers that we've had, and big on discipline. If he felt there was a case to answer, a serious case to answer, I don't think he would have played yesterday.
well, I guess we better talk to people about what we're talking about first, rather than sort of comment on it in that way. I guess, I mean, he missed 2 1-on-1s, which isn't like him. But there was obviously footage came out on a social media account after a night out where it was accused, I guess, just by association, that John McAtee had been up to stuff. The club, the footage, which you can probably find somewhere online, showed people arguing in the street like they do at a night out. And unfortunately, though, one of McAtee's mates seemed to have spat at a woman, which looks quite fucking disgusting, if you ask me. But all in all, it looks like it's been edited to suit the claimant, and the club are investigating. That's all I really wanted to talk about with it. There's not much else we can add, but we shouldn't not talk about it.
Look, I mean, it's difficult to talk about things when you quite clearly don't have all the evidence or all the facts. Now, from what is available, I don't see anything that is, I don't see that he's done anything wrong. So until proven otherwise, then I think that John McAtee should continue doing what he does in his job. So until somebody is proven to have done something wrong, we have to be very careful about jumping on bandwagons and accusing people of things when what I've seen, I haven't seen anything that is wrong. Maybe questionable about his friends, and his friend's a complete scumbag, but yeah.
I think you're right, Mike. I think it's on from what I've seen of our player, it's unsavoury at best. At worst. I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've mentioned it now at least, so we can sort of move on from that. Have we got anything else to talk about? I guess poor lad for Callum Jones has gone back to Hull. Yes, Tom.
Well, we've got to talk about Tuesday, as pointed out by Rich Hallam. The Tuesday night showdown, 6 of the top 7 playing each other. What's not to get excited about? Town versus Solihull, Notts County versus Boreham Wood, and Wrexham versus Halifax.
Is it little one's first home game?
No, not yet.
No, I said, is it little one's first home game?
Yeah, I heard what you said. I said, no, not yet. It's not here yet.
Right, okay. All right. Yeah, God. Right, we're done, Alex. I think we're done.
Do you need the name of a decent curry house, Tom?
No, tried that.
Joke. Yeah, I guess it's a nice one. We're going to find this now. We've talked about our running, and it looks all right compared to others. So Notts County seems to be quite a nice one to come to. Bruce, you were on Friday. You were entertained by Ivano Bonetti. How was that?
Ooh.
I was just going to talk about that, mate. It was a really good night, actually. I was a little bit concerned before we went that his spell here was so short that there wouldn't be enough content for a whole evening. But actually, he was brilliant.
You play like that.
He was brilliant. Yeah, and he had Dario with him. His interpreter was still with him, although he lives in California now. We were fortunate enough that they were sat on our table for the meal beforehand, and they were both really good company. Ivano's English is a lot better than it was then, 26 years ago or whatever it was, and and I thought Kev Rogers, the PA who does the PA at Town, he was excellent in his questioning. We had a bit about his career before he came to Town, like a first half, and the players that he's played with, and you forget he's played against Maradona, he played with Platini, he played with some absolute best of the best, and his career history was interesting from a young age, going to these massive clubs in Italy, and it was just a really good night, and he was more than happy to take photos and sign stuff that people had taken, and yeah, it was really good, and it was very, very nostalgic. Yeah, they had with us. I did a video for them, which was playing throughout the sort of interval and stuff. And a lot of people, probably haven't seen all the goals and stuff from right back then, and all the stuff off telly. And yeah, it went down really well, really, really good.
Did he have much to say about his time at Town?
He didn't shed any new light. I think we'd already broken that story, hadn't we? That it was nothing to do with chicken. It was, but yeah, he. It was a left hook of Brian Law's, and it was apparently his wedding ring or his ring that did the damage.
Yeah.
But so Ivano said, and he said he still gets a numbness in his face now occasionally.
Christ.
So yeah, Lawsy give him a good whack. But yeah, no, he did talk about his time at Town. He talked very fondly of it and the area, and there were jokes about the pier and the usual stuff. And they asked him which player that he played with at Town was what he thought was the best, and he said Paul Groves which was quite interesting. But when we were at the table beforehand, he was asking, about the players that he played with, where they were now, and we were able to obviously from social media and and also the interviews that we've done on here that fill him in with what people were doing and what they were up to and stuff that we know of. So yeah, he was really interested, and it was, like I said, it was a really good night.
That's good to hear, and it's glad to see he came back. He could probably do a decent job in midfield at the moment.
Just bring him on set plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Roll on, roll off. That'd be pretty decent.
Kicker.
If we ever do a Masters Mariners thing, it'd be great on it. That's a good question. Have a think about that. If we had to, because the Masters League is coming back, how many players do you have? 4, don't you? I think. What 4 would you have? That's a good one. Anyway, have we got anything else? Are we going to wrap up?
Is that 40? Does that say 42 minutes?
I know. Have we missed anything, guys? Anybody on Twitter or on the social media verse? Anything else we need to talk about?
Well, we've got another home game before we record again, haven't we? We've got Dagenham at home on Saturday as well.
We've got Old Daggers.
I'm sure Tom's done loads of research on that.
No, they're on half decent form, aren't they? Dagenham, or they seem to be, if I remember rightly. Seem to be picking up a few points again.
They've won 3 of their last 5.
Yeah,
that helped. And they could. No, they couldn't overtake us. Who else have we got around us? Bromley. Oh, we can always make the nominal reference of Scunny losing again, which is quite nice. Never gets old.
Kurt Zuma's brother plays for Dagenham.
Does he? You get this, don't you? Lots of unsuccessful younger. Actually, I can't say that because we've got John McAtee, haven't we? Yeah,
I missed that.
I'll keep the cat in then, shall I, Tom?
I would.
Yeah.
Well, that Ollie Hudson's just asked us to cat kit as back playing for Dagenham. Because he was involved in it, wasn't he? He was the one that filmed it.
Yeah, I think you missed that at first.
Sorry, mate.
I think that's what. Yeah, but just on the cat though, I don't know what it is about Sunday nights, but I had to take another dead body out of the house before the pod started. She seems quite regular on a Sunday. You can even tell when she comes through the cat flap, the noise she makes. She comes through with that much purpose that she's brought you another kill. That she comes charging through. Maisie's like, I think the cat's brought, and I'm like, no, she ain't. And I went out in the hall, and yeah, there was a body.
Maybe the cat knows that the pod recording is coming, and she's sick of listening to us, so she's trying to distract you, Bruce.
Yeah, possibly, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame her.
It's one thing we do have to mention: Steele's Corner House have very kindly offered to pay for the next flag. So we will be doing something on that once stuff in the east of Europe comes to settles down a little bit because I'm a bit busy. But we will get that sorted and go through some stuff on that. That'd be great. And you'll be able to decide, I guess, which one we go for if we don't make a decision ourselves. But yeah, I think that's a massive thank you to those guys too, and we'll keep you updated. Anything else before we go? And we we've got a bit of day in lieu here. Good. Right. Well, Tom, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully, next time you see us, or next time we see you, you'll be a dad.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we got another week, if you're here another week, I feel sorry for the missus. Mike, thank you very much. Great to have you back.
No worries, buddy.
Good stuff. Bruce, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Good luck, Tom.
Yeah, good
Thanks,
luck, Tom.
Bruce.
Enjoy.
Cheers.
Get your iPad charged up.
I'm amused by the fact that you think I've got an iPad.
I don't know. Then get your Sid Lowe book on, but the Spanish, the Iberian Peninsula, or whatever it would be. But thank you very much, guys. And we shall see you all very soon. Enjoy the rest of it. Enjoy the football. It's been all right recently. I am proper looking for time. There we go. There's the video. See you later. Bye. Bye.
Open wide for some soccer!